Well, hi train friends, welcome to the Ozark, Midland Southern Railway. In this video, part 2 in the creating a backdrop for the OM&S series, I'm going to show you how I fill the gaps between the castings made in part 1. I'm also going to show you how I prepare the Rockface for coloring, which will come in part 3. So let's get started. To fill the gaps, I used some of Midland Sink's lightweight hydrocal plaster. I made it soupier than what is called for in the directions because I wanted to get it to go down into the crevices. I put it on fairly liberally, then used a cheap old brush to kind of move it around and press it down into the crevices. I found the hydrocal is a lightweight plaster and it hardens quite well. It has a fairly short drying time, so you do have to kind of work kind of quickly. I would tell you that overall, this project took me about 3 hours to complete. So I've sped the video up via editing to shorten the video to just a little over 7 minutes. Not counting the little train time we'll have here at the end. Now again, I'm kind of using a toothbrush to kind of feather it out a little further. I use a variety of tools. Everything from a paring knife to a putty knife. You see my toothbrush and my paintbrush. There I'm using a utility knife blade, kind of get into some of the crevices, create some of the finer work. You have to kind of just keep working the plaster until you begin to kind of get what it is you're looking for. So there's that section. It's pretty good. Well, here's the last of the gaps I have to fill between fairly two large sections of casting. Now I'm not going to show the entire process with this gap, as you saw me fill the previous gap using the hydrocal. There's the finished product. It turned out pretty well, I thought. One of my better efforts with regards to filling the gaps. This was a third gap. The very first gap I used for practice. Then you saw the second gap, and then this here is the third gap. And now we're going to unify the Rockface using some U.S. Art Supply white gesso acrylic medium. It's kind of a thick material. but yet when it dries, it dries real well, and it doesn't obscure much detail as long as you don't put it on too thick. So ideally, you want to kind of stipple it in, make sure you get the gesso into the crevices, and then kind of work it around, making sure that you thoroughly coat the entire surface. Kind of like filling the gaps. The process took a while, but it just has to be done. And actually, it's kind of relaxing to do. And you see how I'm covering now. This is actually the hydrocal. That's where the gap is. The white gesso will ensure that the acrylic washes I use will be evenly absorbed across the entire rock face. So I'm working, being careful, trying to make sure I cover all the surface without, again, getting too much of it into the crevices. You want to get it down in there, but you don't want it to pool. Now again, I'm speeding it up. I'm not going to do, on video the entire rock face, but just a small section of it. I just want you to kind of get the idea of what I'm doing to help beautify the overall rock face. Well, this has been a fun project so far. And there you go. You see the entire rock face now coated in gesso. You can also see the retaining wall that during this process I used an airbrush to spray a coat of primer. Well, let's go run some trains. Okay, train friends, as our train approaches the tunnel number 2 inbound to the Susanaville yard, it is time to bring this video to a close. I do hope you'll watch for part 3 of this backdrop series. In part 3, I'm going to color the Rockface using acrylic paints. Until we meet again on the OM&S, please take care. And remember, the OM&S is pulling for you. This is Bill B. Bye now.